After the acquisition of James Harden, the Clippers went on a 6 game losing streak, and including myself, there was a lot of other prognosticators, pundits alike, saying that this wasn't going to work. And so far, I've been made out to be very wrong in my assessment because the Clippers, to their credit, have found their footing. And the last 30 games, they are 25-5 to the point now that Kawhi Leonard has started to enter MVP discussions. Me personally, I think that Shea Gilgis Alexander is going to win league MVP due to the fact that Joel Embiid, with his injury, he went down. They're not going to give it to Giannis. They're not going to give it to Jokic. Um, I think Anthony Edwards has entered the discussion of being league MVP. But I think that award is going to go to SGA. I think SGA has just been amazing. And Oklahoma City, like I told you last year, that this team was coming and they're not going to go anywhere for a while. But anyway, back to the Clippers, right? So they just got done with their Grammy trip. Every year around this time, the Clippers and the Lakers clear the um, Crypto.com arena so they can set up for the Grammy Awards. They had a 7 game road trip. I think in that road trip, they only loss was to the Cleveland Cavaliers. But they closed out the 7 game Grammy road trip. They beat the Atlanta Hawks 149-144. Um, Next season, I believe they moved to their new arena called the Intuit Dome or whatever like that. Zubac did not play in that game last night, but it didn't matter. It really didn't matter. It, so in this 30 game stretch, they're 25-5. They've averaged 122 and a half points in those 30 games. They're number 3 in the Western Conference. Their only losses was to, like I said, the Cavs, but the other 4 teams was to the Thunder, Celtics, Lakers, and T-Wolves. They're playing really good basketball right now. They find their footing, even though James Harden not putting up gaudy numbers, but and as much as I jump on James Harden or whatever like that, but he's still a threat, and it's good. You're going to be hard pressed to try to double team anybody on this team because I mean, who you going to double without one of the other 2 options killing you? Um, Despite the fact Paul George had a bad game last night, he only had 13 last night, but he's still a threat. James Harden, he's not asked to do much. James Harden can facilitate the floor, and that's why he can have, he's a threat, at least a double threat on a given night, given his ability to score the ball and to facilitate, because he doesn't have to put up these gaudy numbers like he did in Houston or in Brooklyn to a lesser extent. And then Russell Westbrook coming off the bench back on November 21st, you had Russell Westbrook coming off the bench, but he elected to come off the bench to try to, you know, try to get some semblance of a cohesion and chemistry, whatever like that. So you got that. Now, I know that they're 25-5 in their last 30 games, and I know Kawhi Leonard has entered the MVP discussion. And oddly enough, you haven't really heard about Kawhi taking rest days or Paul George taking rest days or whatever like that. You really haven't heard too much about the Clippers going on maintenance days or whatever like that. Sure, could there be some games that they might sit out, or whatever like that? Yeah, but you really didn't hear anything closely, unlike past seasons where Kawhi Leonard is taking games off or Paul George is taking games off. James Harden's been never known to take games off. James Harden will play. That's one thing I will say about James Harden. He will play. If he's not injured, he will take the court. Russell Westbrook, another guy. Guy not known to take maintenance days. He will get on the court and play. So, which begs the question: can they sustain this? Like I said, they're number 3 in the Western Conference right now. The Western Conference, we all know, is very tight. One bad week, and you can go from being number 3 in the West to playing in the play-in game. You get a guy that goes down. You get inconsistent play, stuff like that, and the Clippers can be right back to where they were earlier in the season. But for right now, you got to give it up to them. They've been playing really good basketball. Guys been doing their thing. So I can't even front. I can't even front. But as I said before, can they sustain it? And this will come down to health, in my opinion. This will have to come down to health with Kawhi and Paul George, more specifically. And so we'll have to see what happens. But this stretch they're on right now, really impressive. But then again, this is kind of what we expected this team to do with the acquisition of James Harden. James Harden, we all know his history is checkered. He has a checkered past when it comes to his unhappiness and him wanting to be forced out to go to a different situation, whether it be leaving Houston to go to Brooklyn, leaving Brooklyn to go to Philadelphia, leaving Philadelphia to go to the Clippers. So we'll see. Like I said, I'm gonna hold out my assessment, my true assessment until come playoff time. I know a lot of people might have reservations about that. Hey, I don't blame you if you have reservations about the Clippers, and I can't blame you if you're not sold on them, given the history of these guys' performance in the playoffs and all that. We've seen Paul George put on disappearing acts in the playoffs. We've seen James Harden perform Houdini acts in the playoffs, like he David Copperfield or something. But either way, the fact of the matter is, as of right now, as of this recording, they're balling right now. They're balling. They're balling. No player. Here's another stat, right? No player on the Clippers is in the top 35 of usage rate. No player. Now, one of the things we always talk about when it comes to players and usage rate and all that stuff, right? Usage rate is an advanced stat that's used heavily in advanced and analytics and daily fantasy basketball and stuff like that, right? So for those of you who may not be aware what usage rate is, it's a stat that is basically lists the percentage of team players used by a player when they're on the floor. So basically, it gives you an idea how big or how little of a role that player has when they're on the floor. which means how many opportunities that they have to score and stuff like that. There's a big old there's a there's a way to calculate it. I'm not gonna go off on that on this video right here, but no player is in the top 35 usage rate. So basically, they're sharing the ball, they're moving the ball. They have the best offensive rating in the league. Last 15 games, they had a 125.1 offensive rating. So, like I said, you got to give it up to them. You got to give it up to them. And then we'll see. We'll see if they keep it up. They have a home game tomorrow. Like I said, they just come off a 7-game road trip due to the Grammys. They have a home game tomorrow against the Pelicans, and then we'll see. We'll see if they can take that number 1 spot. Because next week, Thursday, is the last game before the All-Star break. But you guys let me know what y'all think about this particular video. Do you think the Clippers going to go all the way, or you think this is nothing more than just a blip on the radar screen and they're going to eventually find a way to fizzle out and choke in the playoffs like they always do? Or is it a brand new day? But we'll see. If you're not subscribed to this channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and share these videos on your social media platform. Shouts out to the Lions Den basketball community. This your man. Scream at me. Hurry!